I send you money, clothes. I try to take care of you, Vinny. I really do.
Come clean, Carter. It's real simple. Just walk right into the FBI and confess the whole scam.
Nick Nolte and Jeff Bridges go back a long and shady way in Simpatico, one of the new movies we're going to review this week. And we'll also have our memo to the Academy, telling the Academy voters who we think they should nominate for Oscars. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm David Poland, daily columnist for TNT's roughcut.com.
Okay, our first movie is Simpatico, a horse racing thriller out of a Sam Shepard play by way of Broadway, with Jeff Bridges as a Kentucky millionaire who owns a great thoroughbred, and Nick Nolte as a stumblebum from Cucamonga who can bring him flying across the country with just one phone call. What strange hold does Nolte have over Bridges? Well, it turns out they were partners on a racetrack betting scam years ago, and Nolte has been blackmailing Bridges all that time. Now Nolte tells Bridges that a supermarket cashier, played by Catherine Keener, has brought sexual harassment charges against him. Nolte wants Bridges to try to talk her out of it.
I still think of England as home, actually. Yeah, all that history, hounds.
Sorry?
Oh, hunting to hounds.
Oh, right.
Keener is very good there as a woman who's completely out of the loop. She doesn't know what these guys are talking about. Albert Finney also stars in the movie as a former racing official who has changed his name and tried to hide his old identity.
So, what line of work do you follow, Mr. Webb?
Oh. Well, actually, I'm a private investigator.
A sleuth. A gumshoe, as we used to call him.
That's right.
So, what do you need from me? The lowdown on somebody's sleazy past?
By now, Nolte is morphing into Bridges, and the process includes meeting Bridges' wife, played in a high-spirited performance by Sharon Stone.
Simpatico. Carter mentioned something about that.
And where is he?
My place?
Well, what's he doing out there at your place when you're in here?
What bothered me is that the film is entirely contrived. There's never a moment when it seems to be anything other than a wind-up toy. It's way too heavy on plot, especially since most of the surprises aren't very surprising. And that good cast of Nolte, Bridges, Finney, Keener, and Stone, sounds like a law firm, is stuck with characters we don't much believe in and we don't much care about. The plot and dialogue are so sticky they almost have to wade through it.
Yeah, this is a film that really should be saved in a vault, so that any time a studio thinks about making a film from a play, they take this out and look at exactly how not to do it. Because it's wrong in every possible way that it could be. They want to bring it outside, so they get in the car and they drive and then stop and have a scene. And then they want to move some more, so they have some more exterior stuff, and they stop and have a scene. They never even have the remotest kind of flow like a movie has for even a second.
And there's this whole weird personality exchange thing that's kind of almost on a magic level, except they don't really acknowledge her to go all the way with it. I don't know. Sam Shepard is a great playwright, but this is not one of his great plays. And I think that on the stage it probably had an element of symbolic magic to this kind of exchange of identities that worked when everybody was right there in the room with you. But on film, it seems like an additional level of unreality that doesn't really do anything other than distract from a pretty basic story of a crime that took place 20 years ago, or maybe it didn't take place, and a deception. And it's all just basically a detective story that's trying to be a lot more than it really should be.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. Sam Shepard, unfortunately, is a great playwright, but he's never really translated well to film. The other thing that drove me crazy about this picture was that one sex act kind of drives the entire movie and all the passions of these people, and I don't believe it for a second that these people have their lives destroyed by sex.
It's a fictional device rather than something that they really seem to believe for themselves.
Yeah. There was a time where they may have, but I don't think so anymore. Our next picture is The Third Miracle, the latest from director Agnieszka Holland. She had the 1991 hit, you may remember, Europa, Europa. The film is centered around Ed Harris, who plays Father Frank Shore, a priest who investigates reported miracles and those who perform them, miracles being the qualification for sainthood. Father Frank's been suffering some mortal doubts, but that doesn't keep Bishop Cahill from calling him into the latest investigation. Charles Hayde plays the bishop as a kind of gangster for God.
What does she do? The marble statue, I mean.
Well, it's a fair enough question. They do lots of things these days, don't they? They undulate, they levitate. There's a plastic baby Jesus up in Skokie that drinks real milk. Guy cuts open an avocado and sees the Virgin staring up at him. It's a millennium coming in, follow me up.
Yes, it is.
But this isn't just a cynical clerical collar detective flick. It's also a love story. Anne Heche plays the daughter of the woman up for sainthood, and here she tests Frank's commitment to celibacy on her mother's grave.
You're good. What's that called?
It's not a big thing.
Oh, it's just a little graceful
Subtle,
thing.
yeah.
You know what? I can see how wild you used to be.
My favorite was the elevator.
What's the elevator?
No steps.
But just as that part of the movie starts rolling along, Armin Mueller-Stahl shows up as the villain.
I actually believe in the miraculous, whereas you believe in nothing. Nothing at all. And yet you will do anything to prove your little housewife's miracles are real. I am right, I am not. You believe in nothing at all.
The performances in this movie are outstanding, especially Ed Harris. He's on fire throughout the entire picture. Anne Heche has never been more charming, and Miss Holland really knows how to shoot a beautiful film, and she makes a fascinating statement portraying the church as a kind of mini-mafia. But sadly, the film never equals the sum of its parts. There's a complete disconnect between the love story and the investigation, and Armin Mueller-Stahl's Archbishop Warner is straight out of an Indiana Jones movie. But the biggest miss is that Father Frank's faith is never really in doubt, because even when he has a bottle in his hand, taking a deep swig, he is a man amongst men. Forgive me, Father, for I have to give the third miracle a thumbs down.
Well, I'm not going to be able to forgive you because I really like this movie. One of the things I liked about it is that it doesn't just show you all of this satanic horror movie stuff, or on the other hand, it's not one of these genres about angels that come down and get involved in love stories. This is a movie about the church as a modern bureaucracy and about how it works, and this man's job is to investigate miracles, and Armin Mueller-Stahl's job is to be the devil's advocate and to argue against the sainthood of the candidate. And Ed Harris makes this priest into such a specifically interesting and absorbing and complicated character, a man who does take celibacy seriously, and yet at the same time is attracted to Anne Heche. And all of these things come together into a movie that really wants to be intelligent.
Well, but I would never compare this movie to Stigmata or End of Days or any of those kind of genre pictures. But at the same time, I really did love what he did with his character. However, when push came to shove, it didn't come together, and that's what it was so frustrating. I actually went back a second time because I was so kind of torn by it. And Heche is really good. He's really good. The characters are really good, but what is the movie really about? And it never quite tells us what it wants to tell us, I don't think.
I think it's about miracles and about sainthood, about the possibility that even in the 21st century, people might still be able to exist on this supernatural level, that there can be miracles, that there can be saints, and that even a mundane man like the priest played by Ed Harris can be touched by it.
I wish I felt it were about. I mean, I think that's what it should have been about. I think it should have been about a lot of things. I thought the love story really could have been an interesting conversation because it's the daughter of the woman who might be a saint.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to him, and what is he searching for, and all of that very interesting stuff. I didn't see it in the picture.
Now, madam, are you prisoner to an emperor? To him that for your honor and your state will use you nobly and your followers.
Anthony Hopkins plays the great warlord Titus Andronicus, seen here returning to Rome after victories that claimed the lives of 21 of his sons. And Titus, a radically daring new adaptation that takes the least of Shakespeare's tragedies and turns it into one of the most interesting of Shakespearean films. It co-stars Jessica Lange as Tamara, Queen of the Goths, who was captured by Titus and returned to Rome, where she marries the emperor and plots revenge on Titus for having her son executed.
I'll find a day to massacre them all and raise their faction and their family. The cruel father and his traitorous sons to whom I sued for my dear son's life.
In a play filled with villains, the most malevolent is Aaron the Moor, played by Harry J. Lennox, as a man who takes delight in doing evil. Anthony Hopkins plays Titus Andronicus with sharp-edged relish in a role I think is deliberately intended to evoke memories of his Hannibal Lecter. Titus is the filmmaking debut of Julie Taymor, who directed the brilliant Broadway version of The Lion King. And here again, she shows a mastery of costuming and spectacle, of drama interrupted by flashes of comedy. Her movie is basically set in Roman times, but it also includes modern touches, like a young boy playing with action figures who is transported back into the story. And I think with this kind of symbolism, her message is clear. We live in an age when tragedy doesn't have heroes, only victims. And so instead of Hamlet or Lear, we deserve Titus Andronicus, who, like the hero of a video game, only lives by destroying whatever it is in his path. This film is alive and challenging from beginning to end.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you like the film because I think it's not only one of the best films of the year, but I think it's really an important Shakespeare film. I think really going back to Polanski's Macbeth and to Ken Branagh's Henry V, this is a breakthrough film. It's a different kind of Shakespeare. It's very intense. It's very powerful. A lot of people can't even take it. It's so intense. But when it got to the third act, the people I always saw the movie with were cheering and screaming like it was an action movie. Go get him! Go get him! And it was just terrific. It's a very powerful movie.
Well, you know, Harold Bloom, the great Shakespearean scholar who has a best-selling book out now about Shakespeare, thinks that Shakespeare wrote this play as a parody, that he wanted to make fun of the bloody dramas of Christopher Marlowe because he was trying to make a name for himself. And indeed, there are moments in this movie, like the one where Titus has returned the heads of two of his sons, plus his own hand, which he cut off. And so he takes one head. His son, surviving son, takes the other head. His daughter now has no hand, so he says, carry my hand in your teeth. And Bloom says, I defy anyone to read that out loud and not laugh. Obviously, it's intended to be in the same spirit as the Scream movies.
Yeah, but I think that's the genius of Tamor in this picture. She knows the difference between the silly moments and the intense moments. I think she got out of Anthony Hopkins his best emotional performance ever. I think that there are better technical performances, but this was the first time I really felt real emotion from this guy. I can understand why he wanted to retire after it, and Harry Lennox really deserves an Oscar nomination for this movie. I think he was absolutely stunning.
Maybe we'll get to Harry Lennox later in the show.
That would be nice. And coming up next, it's my favorite annual tradition where the critics get to tell Oscar voters exactly what to do for a change. It's Memo to the Academy.
Both my wife and daughter think I'm this gigantic loser. And they're right. I have lost something.
Kevin Spacey and Annette Bening star there in American Beauty, which seems almost guaranteed of lots of nominations when the Oscar finalists are announced on February 15th, and so it should be. But on our annual Memo to the Academy, we suggest some candidates that are not front-runners, deserving nominees we hope the Academy voters don't overlook in marking their ballots. And my first recommended nomination is for my favorite film of the year, Spike Jonze's inspired and zany comedy, Being John Malkovich. It stars John Cusack as a man who works in a very strange office that includes a portal directly into the mind of John Malkovich.
It's my livelihood, do you understand? It's my head, Schwartz. It's my head!
Making funny comedies is incredibly difficult, and making brilliant ones is even harder. Being John Malkovich deserves a Best Picture nomination, so remember that when you're marking your ballots. My next recommendation is in the Best Supporting Actress category, where I think the Academy should nominate Chloe Sevigny for Boys Don't Cry. Hilary Swank is deservedly a Best Actress frontrunner for this film, but Sevigny is indispensable in this story of a girl named Tina Brandon who decided to start living as a boy named Brandon Tina.
You're one cranky girl. Yeah, well, you be cranky too, mister. I'm going to Memphis, Graceland, Tennessee. You're stuck in a town where there's nothing to do but go bumper skiing and chase bats every night of your evil life.
My next suggestion for Best Supporting Actor is Harry J. Lennox. We were just talking about him. He plays Aaron the Moor in Titus, which we reviewed on this show. In a film filled with villains, he is the snakiest and most Machiavellian.
Oh, have I digged up dead men from their graves and set them upright at their dear friends' doors, even when their sorrows almost was forgotten.
And the final category I'd like to consider is Best Documentary Film. The Academy's method for judging the documentaries has been revised again this year, and for the better, I think. The prejudging has produced a wonderful candidate in On the Rope, a powerful and heartfelt documentary about boxing that bears comparison with Hoop Dream.
Out of 3 years you've been boxing, you ever give yourself a chance?
Nah.
What's your biggest fear?
Losing.
I hope the voters mark their ballots to nominate On the Ropes in the documentary category.
Yeah, I'm a big American movie person myself in terms of documentaries, but there's not a thing you picked there that I couldn't go with. Particularly Harry Lennox, I think, is stunning, but I'd be happy for all those nominations, and I hope that Being John Malkovich is actually becoming a front-runner and not a back burner film.
It's just a brilliant film.
It is an amazing
I hope
movie.
they see it. They all got free tapes and DVDs. Put in Malkovich.
Watch the movie. Okay, Academy, here I come. We all know that you're going to give Kevin Spacey and Russell Crowe their well-deserved Best Actor nominations, but one actor gave a performance, well, actually two performances, that also merits serious consideration. Whether he was setting himself up as the egomaniacal, cult-addicted movie star Kit Ramsey, or bringing hysterical humanity to Kit's slow-witted, people-pleasing brother Jeff, Eddie Murphy should get his first Oscar nomination for his work in the very underrated Bowfinger.
Happy premise number one. There are no aliens. Happy premise number 2. Happy premise number 2. There is no giant foot trying to squash me. Happy premise number 3. Happy premise number 3. Even though I feel like I might ignite, I probably won't.
Moviegoers aren't really meant to be aware of the craft behind the movies, but attention must be paid to cinematographer Roger Pratt, his brother, production designer Anthony Pratt, and set decorator Joanne Woolard, who conspired with director Neil Jordan to develop the amazing visual texture of The End of the Affair.
I'm in love, you know.
The best song of 1999 is from the best musical of 1999, perhaps even of the decade, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. I can't even name the song I'd like to most see nominated because it's too dirty for TV. But that's no reason why What Would Brian Boitano Do can't be nominated. And while you're at it, blame Canada.
They're not even a real country anyway.
And then there's Best Picture. There are a number of great choices out there, but it'll be a snow day in L.A. before the Academy honors Fight Club, or Eyes Wide Shut, or The War Zone. And so I ask, what is The Matrix? Perhaps the best action film of the decade? Perhaps the ultimate synergy between the fast draw westerns and the fast-cut future? Perhaps the Best Picture nominee?
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The Matrix embodies the best of Hollywood, past, present, and future. So Oscar voters, please do us all a favor. Take the red pill.
You know, I really like your recommendation of Eddie Murphy because so frequently comic performances don't get nominated even though actors agree they're harder than serious performances. And here, with that other character, with the shy, abashed brother, he creates a completely different human being. This is good acting to provide two really different characters in the same movie, not just an impersonation or a disguise, but a performance. So Eddie Murphy, I really think is a good choice.
Yeah, Eddie, I think, is a very, very underrated actor. He's more than a comic. He really is a fine actor.
Okay, coming up next, another Hitchcock classic has been restored, and it'll be on our Revival Spotlight.
Roger Ebert in the Movies Revival Spotlight is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
Rear Window is Alfred Hitchcock's classic 1954 thriller based on the universal nightmare of being in danger and not being able to run away. It's been newly restored by the expert team of Robert Harris and Jim Katz, who also did Hitchcock's Vertigo and lots of other classic films. The film stars James Stewart as a professional photographer who's confined to his New York apartment with a broken leg and a cast. He passes the time by spying on the lives of the people who live in the apartments on the other side of the courtyard and begins to suspect that a murder may have taken place across the way.
I've seen bickering and family quarrels and mysterious trips at night, and knives and saws and ropes. And now since last evening, not a sign of the wife. All right, now you tell me where she is.
I don't
What's she doing? Where is she?
Grace Kelly plays Stewart's girlfriend, a woman who agrees one day to go on a dangerous mission to satisfy his curiosity.
Come on, get out of there.
The original color of Rear Window had faded badly, and this restoration restores the brilliance of the original movie. A sparkling new print of Rear Window is playing in selected theaters around the country. It doesn't come out on video until 2001, so try to catch it in a theater. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this week's show. 2 thumbs down for Simpatico, a senseless thriller about blackmail and lost love. We split, though, on The Third Miracle. And finally, 2 enthusiastic thumbs up for Titus, the brilliant film debut of theatrical director Julie Taymor. And so Titus, I think, is the discovery this week.
Yeah, if I can say anything, it's people who may not go to see Titus normally, go see this movie. Try it.
Okay, thanks a lot for being here. I'll see you at Sundance.
See you in the snow.
Remember, you can hear our reviews, David and I, on the web at ebert-movies.com, part of Go Network. And my new book, Roger Ebert's Movie Yearbook 2000, is now on sale. I present it to you.